This week was the top of it all for me, especially because we started needing most of the solutions that we're looking to offer the public. We're looking to offer people real world problems that we're solving there. Most of them are not spotlighted just yet. Some of them we started talking about, and myself and the team, I started feeling a little bit anxious. I don't know what brought the thoughts, but I just started noticing how that some thoughts that I abhor started creeping in. I just had to sit myself down and ask myself this question, but is this what you want? No. One of the questions that kept on ringing in my head was, what if it doesn't work? What if it's not adopted? What if these solutions are already obsolete? What if they're not needed? A lot of questions kept on copying in and in and in. It sounds funny now that I'm talking about it, but it was not funny that particular day. And this is a real life thing that I'm telling you. It's a real life story. I like to be real because it concerns literally everything that we're building. Yourself, the products, the solutions, the business. Anxiety is so bad. It can cripple an excellent idea in a second. I started questioning most of the things I wrote down on the leaderboard. I was like, okay, bro, is this not too much? I think now it makes sense what happened. It was like a battle, right? What happened was that most of the things that I talk about, they came back to know, oh yeah, he talks about it often. They're always going to come back to test you, to test your patience, to test your faith, and how much you can adapt, and how much you can take, how much heat you can take. One of the things that came to my mind was, I even said it, I'm going to cloud mask some of these things and not say it out here because of, I don't want to put them out there. No. I was looking at our budget for work, and most of the plans we have already in motion. You couldn't help but, become tired because the funds were not there. If you look at the world, it looks like there is money out there, but it's not like coming to us. It's not. So in general, negativity wanted to look for its way inside me. It occurred to me that what was happening was the negative self-talk, the doubts that I always talk about is going to come. It came. And I can only say thank God because I got a glimpse of it. It now led me into the question, why do people feel anxious? You're building solutions, you're solving problems, you're working to people who are even looking to find their part. Why do you think people feel anxious? When do you know that you are anxious? How do you know when anxiety creeps in? Can you even tell? Do we even know to what extent we are anxious? Most of these answers, you're going to do them yourself, but I'm going to try to highlight most of it is based off of my experiences. I noticed one of the reasons why I was anxious because I was looking at the budget and it was not corresponding with the funds we had at hand, to start building. We were experiencing a certain level of, I wouldn't call it crisis, but it's part of the journey, when the funding is not going to be there. And building is costly, it's expensive because we have team members to pay, we have real work problems to solve as well, eating ourselves. Where we're looking to help other people. I noticed that these things, they're going to keep coming. I thought of something. I thought of something to do when it didn't make sense, but now it does. I started singing and it was one of those old musics that my mom would sing from the West, back in the East. It's a native song, and the song literally says, "Know this, that God has His own time, And when his time comes, he's going to do what he says he will do. I braced myself. I didn't let anyone around me see that anxiety was going to come in, because I started thinking rapidly about tomorrow. My thoughts kept on coming back to back. What about tomorrow? How are you going to do? First up match. How are you going to meet up with the deadline? And on top of it, the environmental factors, the network providers, the people that were supposed to make work even easier started to look like they were making it more complex. All right. I kept on asking myself, is this how we're going to keep on building for a long time? See weird questions coming in. So if you listen to me, it's not only you. It happens to literally everyone. This is me telling you my episode. Think about the millions of other people out there who pass through several series of episodes of anxiety. Most of them even start breathing very rapidly, very fast, which are most of the symptoms. Like most of them start even thinking so much that they could even take themselves into depression as a disorder. So why do people go into anxiety? Why do people experience anxiety? From my experience, I can tell you, financial issues can be one of them. Environmental issues can be one of them. Environmental in the case of, the climate change. These are like other parts of it. Talk about maybe connection, internet connection, connectivity, electricity, depending on where you stay. These things are real factors that can shrink the level of productivity that can come out from a person. And sometimes I am a high performer. I want to do things. I want to get things done as fast as possible. When all of these things are not available, it has a way of playing into my head. A couple years ago, I would get depressed if one of my projects I'm working on, maybe sometimes it didn't come out how I planned. There's something, most of the softwares we use, what they do, there's sometimes a crash and you lost. You're going to lose all the project that you're working on for how many hours. All of those things at the time, they could get me depressed because I'm a very creative person and I put in much time into creativity, drafting, documentation, and implementation. So anytime it looks like it's not going well, I tend to feel anxious. I tend to feel like, oh, why is this happening? Those are most of the reasons why you can go into anxiety. And know this, anxiety cripples productivity. Because immediately you start getting anxious, you start doubting the things that you've told yourself you're going to do. You start looking at the systems that you're trying to put in place and you're like, do I really need to do this? So for the most part, I took time off. Not necessarily taking a long time off. I was still getting things done that were in my control. I try to put this out there that sometimes there are things that are not in your control, and sometimes there are other things that are in your control that you particularly can organize how it will work out for you. And then the ones that are not in your control, let it be. Things that were coming to my mind at the time that I was battling with these thoughts was just keep on going, keep on going, keep. One of the thoughts that came in was, should be people's God talking to me. Yeah. It was good. Yeah, it was good. It was a simple thoughts. It was God asking me, was there a time that I did not show up for? I want to believe that most of you who watch us, most of you who listen to this podcast, understand our place in God. Have an understanding of God. So God was asking, was there a time I did not show up for you? Was there moments that you called me and you did not see my hand? And the scripture resonated with me. I think Philippians 4, either 5, 6, or 7, not them. I can't remember anymore. It says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything, through prayer, supplication, and thanksgiving, make your requests known unto God. And what then would happen? You're gonna have the peace that passes all understanding. I tell you this because I need you to understand that anxiety is not gonna stop coming. As long as you don't have everything figured out, as long as you don't have all the numbers, most of the things that even triggered mine was looking at the amount of work and effort that we put in and seeing the minimal results that comes from these things. Started conducting research. I started looking at people who are literally walking the path that I'm walking right now. And I could literally hear them tell me, it took me 3 years, man. It took me 3 years to be hard. And I'm like, okay. I'm still a baby. So I was communicating with God, and He was making all the sense, really. I found this. And that's what I'm sharing with you. So the sense of alignment, the reason, the why, everything began to make sense again. Okay, this is why we're doing this. Profit is the letter version of it. Why are we going through this? Here's the beautiful part. You're going to meet people in the future who are going to feel extremely anxious. They're going to work the path that you are working currently, and you are going to be the one to talk them into continuity. You're going to be the one to tell them to hold on still. You're going to be the one to tell them that this is part of the process, because it's a lane that you walk. But how can you do that when you did not pass the test of time, or when you failed to overcome? But I know that in the course of watching this and listening to me, you're going to find the peace that you need. You are. There are other factors actually that can trigger anxiety. You just have to know that it's different case with different people. It varies. It's not the same thing with everyone. Some things trigger anxiety. The least things like social media engagements, the least things like excessive social media consumption, especially in younger generations, right? They can trigger anxiety. You know, when we were growing up, there was something that they called peer pressure. I think it's still in vogue, you know, where people are pressurized, you know, by their society and environment, and the things that other people are doing that they're not able to keep up. They tend to become very, very anxious, tend to become worried. Oh, I'm not meeting up with time. I'm not doing what I'm 30, I'm 25, I'm 35. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be. Take your time. We're all on different paths. We're all on different lanes. We're all going to ply the road at a different pace. So whichever moment to find yourself, just try your very best to be at peace. That day taught me a lesson. I feel anxious many of the times. I'm not going to tell you that other builders don't feel anxious as well. I'm a very transparent person, and I would like you to understand how these things work. But one of the reasons why we're doing this is that we want to solve real problems. Problems that span from ourselves, from the anxieties, from the society, from the pain, the failure, the challenges. Everyone with their understanding of what to know, and it's fine, it's cool. But I'm telling you that this is one of the reasons why we're doing this. And I know for a fact, it's sure, like I know my name, for surely that we are building for a long time. I watched something and they said, don't treat it like voyage. Just think it like a journey. Know that it's a journey. It's not See the end now. Let the picture of the end be what's going to keep you going. Because you're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel desperate. You are going to cry. Bitter cry. You're going to do it lonely. You're not going to see results for the most part. But one of the things that should really keep you going is why you were doing this one thing. I was reading Stephen Bartlett's post on LinkedIn where he mentioned how that one of the questions he asked himself a couple of years ago was, is he willing to do whatever it is he's doing for 3 years without being seen, being heard, being paid? If the answer is yes, then he went on with it. And I asked myself that question, the problems we're solving right now, are we able to keep up with it despite not making profit from it, rather? Not being seen and not being heard? I think yes. I know yes, actually. You might swap up the strategy, for the most part, so it gives result. Or the answer is yes. There's a lot of reasons to not get anxious or depressed. Just know that depression is just going to kick in when you give anxiety so much room. It's going to cripple the level of productivity, like I had mentioned. So swap out of it. Just get out of it. How then do you get out from it? One of the few things I do is I try to journal, right? I try to write, put on my pen, on a book, or on my notepad. Truth is, I don't really like writing. Many of you may not know this, but it's another part of me that I just reviewed. I don't really like to write. Reason is that sometimes my hands are not able to meet up with the thoughts that are in my mind, or how fast those thoughts are processing. So it ends up like leaving me at a place of talking. I like to talk more than writing. Yeah, now there are new AI agents and all the stuff that can help you transcribe your voice to text. But then it's not going to be extremely accurate like I want it to be. But it's noted that it's one of the therapeutic things to do, writing. I'm not going to go into the science of anxiety and how to overcome it. But one of the things you can do to stop feeling anxious is to write down those thoughts. What's going on in your mind? Write that down. I made a video last week as well, and I started talking about mindfulness. How we need to practice mindfulness. I think it was an identity as well. Try your best to listen to the last episode of 1% Better Every Day, where we talked about identity. And then it's very important for you to understand that you need to be mindful of the thoughts that you allow into your brain space. You need to be mindful of the things you say. You need to be mindful of the picture you let in your brain. You need to be mindful. Very, 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 very important thing. You need to be very mindful. Those thoughts are not going to stop coming. Just know it's not gone. If it stops right now, accept you're dead. But as long as you're on the right path, even when you are not on the right path, you will still want to keep getting anxious for no reason. But at that time, the anxiety is going to be for the wrong thing. Now you're feeling anxious, and it's because you are building towards a certain thing. We don't know what the future is going to look like. We don't know what the end is going to be. But I think the why helps you navigate. Why am I doing this? God has given you a vision. He's showing you the end now. He is showing you the end so you can start working with the end in mind. The picture of the end is going to help you navigate the process. One of my coping mechanisms is telling myself, we are all going to be fine at the end of it. A lot of people say it's just for saying sake, but I say it from the deepest part of my heart because I understand the stress of building anything at all without the right mentors, the right backup. You literally have to do everything yourself without the right people, the right team, without the right funding. You have to source, you have to research, you have to write, you have to do you have to be everything. Sometimes it's hard to share your dreams with people because, I mean, everyone has what they want to do and everyone is busy. But I see the need for you to be super mindful about the things you say, the things you let into your brain space. And you need to start prioritizing some exercises, right? One of the things I do when I feel anxious, I try to take a walk. Even if it's under the hot sun, I make sure to go out from my workspace. Man, this studio is so hot. This studio is so hot to the point that you can't even be in this studio for complete 3 hours without your brain erupting. I make it so hot for even me. It's all full of ideas and creatives. So I'm sleeping. I kept on thinking. At some point, I needed the thoughts. I'm a very creative thinker, so I'm okay with that. But what I don't do is let it take over me. When I start to worry, that's when it becomes a problem. Same thing with you. Immediately he starts to worry, it's not a problem. Do not be anxious for anything. If you fail to understand anything today, don't fail to understand that you do not have to worry for anything. What do you have to do? If you're a believer, if you had a relationship with her, do this. Go to God in thanksgiving and pray and praise. Make all your requests, all those thoughts. That's why we said write them down. It's okay. This is what's bothering me. Even get peace. And I feel so much at peace sharing this with all of you, my friend. I'm so glad that we're talking about anxiety. Now, this is a very short episode, but I know for a fact that it's for someone. So we're making these videos. We are talking about all of these things. I mean, a lot of builders will not want to share their experiences. I think those are one of the things we're doing in partnership with Positive Thoughts Podcast, to bring viewers to share their experience as well. And you see that these are most of the problems they're facing. So you're not here alone. You're not. It's okay. It's part of the journey. It's part of the process. Embrace it. Navigate the path to come out of anything that looks like a bordering G. It's bordering. Don't let them bother you. Go to God in prayer. I call it finding peace. So if you really want to find peace, you're going to go to God in prayer and in praise. So what I do, I try to play a full set of instruments on my head, with my mouth as well. Like tend to play the guitar, right? Build the trumpet. I like music. I like to sing. In the process of doing all of those things, I find peace. And one of the things that happens over time is that by the time that I'm done doing these things, a new solution for the problems I'm currently facing would emerge. It's happened to me over and over again. That's why I'm able to understand the need to find peace in the midst of the storm. One of the things I do, I felt God to calm me down. Especially when the thoughts are rambling, like they're coming, they are disturbing me so much. Like I said, it all starts with a question. Sometimes one of the things that trigger the questions to start popping up in my head is maybe have an engagement with a client or a partner, and they just back out. Last year was one of those years when I could categorically tell you I was lost. I was in a lot of things, but I was lost. So last year was like a finding me again. I started doing a bunch of stocks, started applying for different things. We don't all have it figured out. But the best part of it is that we are taking the steps to become better people. That's why it's 1% better every day. Show up every day. The idea is to don't be an anxious, but show up every single day. Even if you are anxious, still show up. If you're able to show up, you're going to find the solution to solve your anxiety. Not everyone is going to be privileged to hear all of this. So I hope that you can put this to practice. If you stayed with us till now on this part, it means that you're one of our VVIP. It means that you're one of those people who love what we do. It means that you're one of those people who prioritize personal development over anything. And we are grateful, we are thankful, we are appreciative of all the work you do, staying with us and engaging with us. Just know that we love you and we're going to keep playing for. This podcast is brought to you by Thompson Anointing in partnership with Courts and Summer Studios. Have a good